Good morning to you, Star Wars fans. Today is Monday, and we are taking a look at the Cavern Angels T-65B Starfighter from Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So Edrio and I decided that we would show the world this custom restoration project that I've been working on for the last few weeks. I originally got this ship in a trade a couple months ago. Some of you have probably seen it. It was on eBay, listed at about $150 for the buy it now price, and it went unsold. And the seller removed it and placed it on a Facebook page. And I agreed to a trade with him for two of my custom ships for this custom Partisan X-Wing. And it arrived about 2 weeks later, and when it did, I immediately saw that I had been taken advantage of. There was a lot that had been broken and really screwed up on this custom. To begin with, the cannons on the S-foils, the shafts were warped. They were painted black and white. The emitter tips, which were that soft plastic, were either warped or broken. Two of them were broken, two of them were warped. The second issue is the landing struts. All three of them are actually broken. The actuator that activates the S-foils is broken, or part of it at least. And then there's the paint job. All these black sections that you see, with the exception of the front, were actually just gray primer. That's all that it was. They did not paint the black sections in, and a lot of the sections on the engines were left with just bare primer. They didn't bother to paint that. The leading front edges of the S-foils were not painted correctly. So there was a lot screwed up on this ship. The cockpit is also broken on the inside. I still can't figure out what they did to it. So to begin with, I removed the cannons off the S-foils. And the base of the cannon back here is two halves that are screwed together, held in place with two small machine screws. So I took those apart. They had a lot of dirt and crap on the inside of them. I cleaned those out. I sanded down the shafts of the laser cannons. I eventually repainted them black, and I used a small drill to drill a pilot hole inside the magnetic flashback suppressor, that curved section. Then I took 4 cotter pins, cut the straight shaft off the cotter pin. I measured them all out the same size, sanded them down, and I placed them inside that pilot hole to use as the emitter tip on the laser cannon. And it looks really decent. It looks nice. I may eventually buy a used set of cannons off of eBay if I can find a set that isn't warped, and repaint them and place them back on this ship just to make it look more original. But they look nice as they are. The next thing I moved on to was the landing struts as well as the actuator. I disassembled the ship as much as possible by removing the screws on the bottom of the fuselage. And when it got to the front, I discovered that this front section, some sort of way with this nose cone, is glued together, and it's not supposed to be. This nose cone is actually on at an angle instead of being straight. So I'm guessing that that was a part that slid across the front of the ship. However it fits on there, you can't remove it without breaking the front of the ship. So I could not repair the landing struts or the actuator in the back. I had to put the ship back together. I then proceeded to take 1,000 and 2,000 grit sandpaper and sand down a lot of the areas on the ship, particularly the black areas. I did a lot of repainting here. And I use Apple Barrel brand paints for brush-on paint. So what I did was I dry brushed all of these gray sections. All this black that you see here, all these stripes and markings, all that was gray primer, spray-on primer. I sanded that down as much as possible and wiped the ship down, and I went back and I dry brushed on the black colors that you see. I created the markings here on the front leading edge of the S-foils. The screen accurate, the bottom is white, the top is black. I did all of that. I repainted the engines. I dry brushed on black for a primer inside the intake here, and then come back with gunmetal and just kind of weathered it up a little bit. Some of this plastic on the inside, this white, was actually gunked up, and there were even chunks of it that were broken. I don't know what they did to this ship. I still can't figure it out. But there was no way for me to fix that really. On one of these engine intakes, I actually used a pair of pliers to pull out a broken section of plastic and just sanded it down and repainted it the best that I can. You can see from the video that the paint job is not the best in the world, but it looks better than when I got it. This angled section here, which is screen accurate, that was not there before. On the side of the ship, I painted in the exhaust from the proton torpedo blast when they're fired. I did a little bit of weathering on the white sections, and I really did that to kind of cover up the nastiness of how they did the white paint. You can see that there's still some edges that I wasn't able to clean up that great. I did a little bit of weathering back here on the S-foils, and on the back, the top section where the hyperdrive motivator is, I dry brushed on black for a primer here and went back and painted gunmetal over it to give it a metallic sheen. I did the same thing on the engines all the way around. And these black stripes weren't originally here, it was just gray primer, so I tried to paint over that as best I could. On the back here you can see I painted in the exhaust using a bright metallic red. I do that with all of my X-Wings. And I'm going to remove the droid so that he doesn't fall out. So you can kind of get a better picture of what the top of the S-foils look like. On the base of the ship, let me move my camera here. You can see that the white section is really jacked up. And I just tried to weather this as much as possible. Something else that I did here is that I scribed in the panel lines. All of these panel lines had a lot of paint in them. So much so that a regular scribing tool wouldn't work. I had to use a precision screwdriver to get the paint out of those panel lines. So there was a lot of scraping out, sanding, going back, and repeating that process several times to bring this out. But it looks a lot better than it did with just white paint painted over it. So head on, you can see that the ship doesn't look too awful. It's better than when I received it. And it did come with that droid and another pilot figure, which I think was actually Red Leader. I think is who the pilot figure was. I'm still not sure. They repainted that droid, I do know that much, to match the black color, or supposed black color of the ship. But this entire project took me about 2 weeks to complete. And I'm really proud of it. I'm thankful for the way that it come out, because it could have been a lot worse. And the cannons actually come out straight after I worked on the shafts. And thanks to Jake James for sending out a Edrio action figure to me. I really appreciate that. And really appreciate all the support that I've received from you guys following my YouTube channel as well as my Facebook page, Orion's Belt Creations. And, you know, sometimes you don't get what you think you're getting. And I would advise anyone, you know, that collects to stick with eBay and Amazon. And, you know, if you're going to do trades, trade with people that you know personally. Don't get stuck in a trade like I did that negatively impacted me. And, you know, it's just it's not a good feeling to have something like that happen. And it's not a good position to be placed in. And, you know, again, it is what it is. You know, it could have been a lot worse. I could have just had to junk the entire toy. But I wound up being able to salvage it. And I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. So there you have it, Cavern Angels T-65B X-Wing Starfighter. Thank you guys for watching my video. Please leave your comments or questions below. If you haven't subscribed to Orion's Belt Creations, please do so. We're up to 65 subscribers now. Visit my Facebook page by the same name. I detail all of my toy customs there, share news, tidbits, and that sort of thing. I'm also a contributing columnist for Outer Rim News. Outer Rim News is one of the leading Star Wars news websites today with over 24,000 followers and subscribers, growing every day. We have everything from commentaries to collectibles to comics, video games, to live-action films, including The Last Jedi, the animated series such as Star Wars Rebels. We're covering Star Wars Celebration for you guys. And every day we strive to bring you the latest happenings in the Star Wars universe. Really great group of individuals, and really thankful to be a part of that community. We're also putting together a Star Wars fan fiction film entitled Prime Response that is going to begin principal photography in August. And we're going to be starting a Facebook page just for that project to keep you guys up to date on what we're doing and where we are. If you're interested in contributing to Prime Response, we are looking for digital developers, people who specialize in CGI animation and that sort of thing. So if you're interested, email me at orionsbeltcreations@outlook.com. Again, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Stay tuned. There's more to come. May the Force be with you.